Hey everybody, Tom Barnes, stories from the 78 big weekend here in Chicago. All neighborhoods all over the city in the 77 different neighborhoods. Perhaps one day we'll be in the 78th. They're still not done with that one yet. They're building that one. But we're talking about the stuff that's going on now. And I have my friend Angela here. How are you, Angela?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing great. So, a big weekend here in the city. You have the Open House Chicago put on by the Chicago Architectural Center, correct?
Yes, yes. We're at the CAC. We're excited for this weekend, ready to throw some doors open and welcome people to check out architecture.
Yeah, it's such a cool event in the city. It's free, first of all. I mean, if you're a member, you get some perks about not waiting in line and stuff like that. But either way, it's a free event where you get to go. If you're a nerd like I am and love just to venture through the city, you get to go into buildings that you've never been into before. You might not ever get to go into again. It's not always the same buildings, right? There's always some that come on and come off the list, but there's some new ones. You have over 30 new spots, 170 altogether this year, right?
Yes, absolutely. So we have, some of our greatest hits buildings. We've got, the Board of Trade building or Willis or Sears Tower, depending on what you call it. And then
Sears
we
Tower.
like Sears Tower. I know. But then we have some new fresh faces that we're excited about. The birthplace of Walt Disney in the Hermosa neighborhood being one. The Climate Action Museum and to be another one. So lots of cool stuff and kind of something for everybody.
Yeah, and that one, the Disney one, that is just super cool. I think a lot of people don't realize that Walt Disney's from Chicago, which again, people always think it's either California or New York. I mean, yeah, he was born right here in Chicago, built by his dad, I think.
Yeah, it's a small little house, so be patient. I think there's going to be a lot of people interested in that house museum, but definitely worth the time to go.
So how do you guys pick between the different neighborhoods? There's 77 different communities and a lot of neighborhoods within those communities in Chicago. How do you guys pick them? And what are some outside of like the Walt Disney one, the Board Trade? What are some of the more unique ones that maybe people haven't had the chance to check out before?
Yeah. Well, to answer your first question, the way that they're selected, we try to get into neighborhoods or community areas that, are off what I would say in quote unquote the beaten path. When people think about our amazing skyline or they think about Chicago architecture, most of the time they're thinking about the loop and they're thinking
Right.
about the skyline. But architecture happens in our neighborhoods, in our community areas, right? And we have some beautiful architecture on the southwest and southwest sides of the city, northeast and northwest sides of the city as well. So being really intentional about creating and curating a list of sites in particular neighborhoods that most folks wouldn't just automatically think of when they think about iconic Chicago architecture. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that the south side of the city and the southwest side are a lot older than like the north side because it was like the burbs or nothing for years. Like the main hub of the city, yeah, you had downtown with the river and everything else, but a lot of the manufacturing was on the south side, and that's where all that great architecture come from because all of those blue collar neighborhoods had people that they had to put in. So you're talking about like Inglewood or South Shore neighborhood, and I believe that the Regal Theater's in the South Shore neighborhood, and there's a couple
Yep.
great buildings right there in Inglewood.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm very excited for people to go out and explore. I'm hoping, at the end of the day, when people have gone out and experienced Open House Chicago, my goal is that either one, they've experienced a neighborhood that they never saw themselves in before or had not experienced prior to OHC, or that they walked away with a different appreciation for the built environment and how architecture and good architecture and important and historic architecture is literally on every corner in Chicago, and sorts of instill that sense of civic pride that both local Chicagoans and people visiting, because people do come from other places during OHC weekend for this event, that they walk away with a new crease in their brain about the city of Chicago.
Yeah, so what would you recommend for somebody who's never done it before? Like what are like the top fives, if you would, even if it's a new one, just to really get a good taste of what Chicago has to offer?
Yes, that's kind of like asking a parent who their favorite kid is. You're not supposed to have one, but, what I would recommend is download the app, the new Chicago Architecture Center app. Right now, it's all about Open House Chicago,
Mhm.
but don't delete it when OHC weekend is over because it will just, update to all the amazing things that we do all year round, in the field of architecture and architecture education. But on there is obviously the list of all the sites, information about each site. And you can plan an itinerary. You can also, which is kind of fun, especially if you're somebody who's new to OHC and you're like, I don't even know where to start. We have some celebrity guest stars that are giving their itineraries, sharing their itineraries. I always kind of liken it
Ah,
to like when Obama does his bracket every year, and kind of like and shares it out. It's kind of similar to that.
sure.
So getting to see some of who your local celebrities, what they think is interesting and cool and what they're going to be checking out over the weekend. But definitely download that app, plan your itinerary, share it with your friends. It links to Google Maps. It really, I always say it's like having one of our awesome docents like right in your hand as you're walking around.
Fantastic. And the event starts on Saturday, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Through Sunday. What are the hours for people who might want to know before they download the app and go to the website?
Yes, it is ranges from about 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Each site in the app will have this listed, has specific hours. For example, like a house of worship, if they have a wedding on Saturday night, they might close at 4 instead of 5. So make sure you check the hours on the app. But about 10 to 5 is comfortable.
Fantastic. And for people who want to know more about it, you've mentioned the website. So just continue to go to that all year long because you guys do other fun things throughout the year. And go to the center itself right there on
Yes.
Michigan in Wacker, because that's a great spot to go and just learn about the city history.
Absolutely. I always forget to mention the Chicago Architecture Center when I think about sites, but we are a site. And it's a great place, as you said, to start your exploration of the city of Chicago during OHC or just any other time of the year as well.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much, Angela. I appreciate you taking time to chat with me and happy exploring this weekend.
All right. Thank you so much.